Welcome to this week's episode of Insight. During this week's show, we're going to cover two topics. The first one's going to be the unfortunate explosion at the Surmalu shopping center in Yerevan, and the other one is going to be an update on what's been going on in Turkish-Armenian relations, or actually the talks going on to establish formal relations. Let's start off with the explosion at the Surmalu shopping center. The explosion last week took place at the Surmalu shopping center. At this exact section where fireworks were sold. And for those of you who haven't been to this complex, which is massive, it's sort of a combination of the world's biggest market and Dante's seventh circle of hell. Apparently, what exploded was actually the fireworks section that was all placed in one place. This caused the death of 16 people and a far greater number who were hospitalized. Some of them were still hospitalized. Up to today, we really don't know what caused the explosion. But frankly, none of this should come as a surprise. If you put 4 tons of fireworks next to each other on the hottest day of the summer in a place where everybody smokes, nobody should be surprised that there's an explosion or that something goes wrong. Actually, this issue of fireworks is a serious one for anybody who lives here. You constantly hear people buying fireworks and constantly setting it off in almost every backyard every night. It's actually quite annoying, and we saw the consequences of what fireworks can do when not handled properly. Obviously, this event and the fact that we don't know the exact cause of it has brought about lots of idiot rumors and conspiracies, most of whom I will not dignify by actually commenting upon, except for one exception, and that's because the Russian embassy commented on it. A few days ago, there were rumors that this explosion was caused by Russian state actors. And this became so prevalent that the Russian embassy actually put out a press release denying it, at the same time asking the Armenian government to forcefully deny any Russian involvement in this explosion. A few things about this. Obviously, any accusations that there's Russian foul play or direct Russian state involvement in this explosion are frankly idiotic and not worth commenting on. The fallout from it actually is quite interesting and is worth commenting on, because one of the things that the Russian embassy demanded that for the Armenian government to actually control the media somehow about what they're posting and what they're saying. And 2 days ago, the Russian Foreign Ministry, Moscow, actually asked for a formal response from the Armenian side about this matter. What this actually points to is actually an underlying frustration that the Russian state or Russian government is feeling in Armenia, which is the subtle change in attitudes towards Russia. And this is not off of empirical evidence. I don't have polling evidence to back this up, but this is about what you hear out in the street and what people talk about. And in fact, there's very little, as far as the Russian government is concerned, that the Armenian government can do to deal with this changing public attitudes towards Russia that are going in a negative direction. Primarily for one reason, is because these attitudes are actually driven by one thing and one thing alone, which is Aliyev's continued aggressions against the people of Artsakh and the Armenian Republic. When it comes to Artsakh specifically, the conventional wisdom, as far as the man on the street type of view, is few people actually believe that the armed formations of a post-Soviet Trashkanistan, that's run by a second-rate hoodlum, will ever dare to shoot over, next to Russian soldiers or peacekeepers in Artsakh without some kind of an approval or nod from the Russian government. Now, this belief could be absolutely wrong. It could be the fact that the Aliyev regime is actually testing the Russian red lines, so it does not necessarily need to be approved by them, but that's the conventional wisdom. And as we know, that when it comes to shaping public opinion, perceptions matter far more so than the realities on the ground. Now I'm going to move on to give an update on the ongoing talks between the Armenian government and the Erdogan regime about the establishment of relations. Obviously, we've talked about this multiple times, and there's always small updates here and there. The primary update that we have is from last month when there was actually a phone conversation between the Prime Minister of Armenia and the dictator from Ankara. And what's come of it in the announcements that the first steps they're going to take in establishing these relations is actually two things, which is, first of all, open up the land border only for third country nationals to be able to cross, which means no Turkish national can come to Armenia, and no Armenian national can go to Turkey using their passports. And the second one is to open up air cargo between the two sides, and it's obviously something that is good for us. But what are we to make of all this? I have always been skeptical about this process. I think this is a game that's being played to placate the Europeans and the Americans from the Erdogan regime to show that they're somehow interested in establishing peace or establishing relations with Armenia. I don't think they're interested in that whatsoever, because at this point, essentially when you're negotiating with Erdogan, you're actually negotiating with Aliyev. And unless Armenia is willing to make the type of concessions that no government here is willing to make, what we're gonna have is a very piecemeal thing where either something very small happens or nothing big happens without a massive capitulation, which is not going to happen. For the most part, this is a dog and pony show in which nothing is going to come out of it. That, however, does not mean we should not pursue it, but then the pursuing it needs to have its limits. What I want to do at this point is sort of do a commentary on these relations, because I think there's a lot of very built-in angst and apprehensions about this relationship for obvious historical reasons. We don't need to outline what they are. But I think what we need to understand that when it comes to diplomacy, what diplomacy actually means is without renouncing one's own convictions, you speak to others and recognize them despite their values, or in this case, lack of values. What should our approach and attitude be about these relationships or establishing of relations with the Erdogan regime and the Turkish state? One is to be very clear about who they are and what they represent to us, and actually what they represent to the region, which is what they have always been, which is a regional cancer. Our job in these relationships is actually to do everything possible in establishing these relationships to marginalize their impact on our lives, no more nor less. All of our foreign policy decisions should be based on one standard and one standard alone: what serves the interests of the people of Armenia at this moment in history. Nothing else matters. If it's something that serves our interests currently, we should pursue it. If it doesn't serve our interests, we should not pursue it. How do we define our interests? Simple. Whatever allows us to get rich and, by extension, stronger. Because in order for us to be able to build the kind of nation and state that we want, we have to become a far richer one than we are right now. Our general foreign policy approach should be cynical to a level that would make Machiavelli blush, because those are the cards that were dealt, and that's the way we need to deal with the world. I'm going to go back to a point that I made, a very critical one, of the Turkish state and what it really is. And I know some of our Western friends might think that I'm being far too critical. And if you think I'm being far too critical, I would ask you to watch the following video.
Ey Avrupa Birliği! Bizim şu andaki operasyonumuzu bir işgal hareketi diye nitelendirmeye çalışırsanız işimiz kolay. Kapıları açarız. 3,6 milyon mülteciyi sizlere göndeririz.
That was obviously Turkish dictator Erdogan threatening to unleash millions of Syrian refugees onto Europe, refugees that he actually gets paid billions of dollars to take care of by the European Union. So to our Western friends, specifically the European ones, Turkey is not the beautiful restaurants of the Bosphorus where you sit and have dinner with your few westernized Turkish friends who speak perfect English. What you just witnessed, the degenerate that you witnessed and the degeneracy that we've been witnessing is actually the real face of that country. Moving on, and I'm going to close. This is really not a section, but simply a set of questions. And it's a set of questions that is directed to the Armenian government, the Artsakh government, our civil society, and our diaspora institutions. And this is the following: is What are your contingency plans when the Aliyev regime cuts the electricity, internet, and gas lines to the Artsakh Republic after the handover of the Berdzor corridor? Second of all, what are your plans to build all of these corresponding lines with the new access road that we have to Stepanakert? The truth is, this crisis is heading our way, and it'll be decided, the day that it will be decided of that crisis will be the day of the choosing of the fascist dictator in Baku. This day is coming. Let's be prepared for it. Thank you for joining me in this week's episode of Insights.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!" I want you to get up right now